Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to SkillsFuture Festival X Smart Nation 2022, webinar series organized by SkillsFuture Singapore and Smart Nation Office. Today's webinar is entitled NFTs, the bridge between Web 2.0 and Web 3.0 is organized in partnership with Moledao. I'm Phoebe, and I'll be your host for this session. Today, we'll be learning about NFTs and understanding the value of investing in or even creating your own NFTs, followed by a Q&A to wrap up the session. During the webinar, please feel free to type in your questions using the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. The speakers will then address them accordingly. Without further ado, let's welcome YC Ong, Business Development Manager of Moledao, TY Shao, Directors of Outliers VC Dao, Alvin Leong, Investment Managers of NGC, Wang Hao, Managing Director of CTH Group. Speakers, please.
Hello. Hi everyone. Thanks for being here today. We're really glad that you're here to learn about NFTs, this new technology that's been booming over the past year or so. So yeah, today specifically we're chatting about NFTs and how they'll play a part as we move from the world of Web 2 to Web 3. And the format that we will discuss will be three different segments. So first will be the fundamentals of NFTs. The second will be exploring why brands and corporations are already taking that step into NFTs, and the last one will be the future outlook of NFTs as we move from Web 2 to Web 3. And right at the end, we'll have some time for Q&A, so please remember to fill in your questions in the Q&A session below. All right, so right now, I'd just like to hand the time over to our panel speakers to introduce themselves, who they are, what they do, and how they're involved with NFTs and Web 3. TY, would you like to start?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is TY, and I work for a crypto firm called Outliers Fund. And I focus on investing in a startup company in the crypto industry right now and called Web3 the industry since 2018 until now. So the first time I knew NFT was back to 2018, and when the crypto kitty come in the world, and I was one of the players. So after that, I keep my eyes on the NFT and as one of the investment focus until this moment.
Okay, thank you, TY. Alvin?
Hi, everyone. So I'm Alvin, Investment Manager at NGC Ventures. We are a crypto VC based in Singapore and around the world. My personal journey with NFT started actually around the beginning of 2020. That's before the NFTs really became popular. I actually lost money in some of the early NFTs at that time. But since then, I've been following NFTs across different chains, and I'm excited about the different applications across different areas. Thank you.
Wonderful. Wang Hao, please.
Yeah, sure. Hi. Hello, everyone. Really glad to be here. And if you don't mind, just probably do a very quick, I would say, introduction of myself. If you guys can see the screen. So my name is Wang Hao. I've been working in the traditional finance industry for about 15 years, 1.5 decades, before I actually stepped into the crypto world, about 1.5 years. So that's kind of the experience I've learned both from NFT and Web3 in general. How do I see, I would say the NFT actually could be the future. So what I really want to say actually, I see it more from a financial perspective. I see NFT versus FT. So what does that mean? Everything in this world is either FT or NFT. So fungible tokens, which whatever we use, like a dollar, Sing dollar, ringgit, everything that's actually the same fungible tokens. Always on the blockchain same. NFT is everything that we use. Actually, we can now transact directly, but we have to use fungible tokens to transact. So I think if you put into that perspective, we're looking at a very big number globally. The private wealth in total is about 400 trillion US dollars. So that's a very big number. A lot of those actually are NFTs, okay? But if you look at crypto, it's still very early stage. It's 0.25%. So it's $1 trillion out of this $400 trillion just in terms of market cap. And NFT is even smaller. It's only less than 2% of the crypto. So whether we're talking about so far, either from a transaction value perspective or a market cap perspective, I think we are very early stage. So that's the perspective I like to put into. And when we talk about Web3, I tend to look at NFT as a algorithm, which is actually powered by two things, which is computing power, whether it's AI, whether it's quantum computing or blockchain or anything else. And data is actually growing huge. So that's kind of the algorithm that we are using to actually taking us into the human civilization and the further growth, which is the digitalization of that. So that's a quick introduction of myself, and back to the host.
Thank you all for your sharing how you guys entered into the world of crypto and NFT. So, right, let's get started straight into it. What is an NFT? What are the features of an NFT? And how do you define an NFT? Like TY, would you like to start?
Sure. Okay, so everyone should know about NFT because this is the really hot topic from last year until now, and also will be continuing to be the topic in the future. So what is NFT? So the full name of NFT called a non-fungible tokens. So this non-fungible token is actually created by a smart contract protocol and standard called ERC 721. And this ERC 721 and its non-fungibility actually represent the value in the virtual worlds. So it actually also represents a core technology for the future metaverse. So the NFT itself is actually the technology. So with this technology, you can create your own digital assets, and this digital asset that is unique, exclusive, and cannot be copied, recreated, moved, or changed by anyone. So that is the NFT. So you probably will ask about what is the future of the NFTs. So I will be list down 3 points, the major points for the NFT futures. So the first one is called authenticity. So every NFT token has its own standards and identities based on what's written on the smart contracts. So it cannot be copied or duplicated, which automatically reduce the risk of the fraud. So the transparency in the blockchain technology builds the trust with the token holders as well. The second point is actually called the ownerships. So NFT brings a new era to the ownerships of an asset due to the fact the blockchain can identify and track the ownership through the smart contracts. So token owners can exchange the token if they want to buy, if they want to sell, and also if they want, but they cannot change the ownership and also the authorities. The last point is called the transferables. So NFT are easily transferable since they are decentralized, since they are decentralized, but they are not interchangeable. So because every NFT is unique, so you cannot exchange one for another because every NFT is unique and also exclusive. As you were Bitcoin or Ethers, they say you can buy, sell, and resell them, but you cannot change them. So that is an NFT. So every single NFT has these 3 major features. One is transferable, the other one is ownership, and the last one is called authenticity.
Great. Thank you, TY. Alvin, do you have anything to add on to what TY has mentioned?
I think what TY said is very comprehensive. I think so just like very slight things to add is like NFTs are changing the way like membership into communities work right now, besides the point about being collectibles. So they have a lot of different applications, like whether it's an investment community, it's a community that is together for some cause or things like that. So even, for example, the ENS domains that people have, like .eth something, all of these are NFTs now. So they're really changing the way that membership, ownership, and like being a stakeholder in a community is working right now. And like depending on future regulations, already it's happening that NFT holders will receive revenue and things like that, but some of these might come under securities laws. As we see more clarity about that in the future, I think there'll be a lot more applications of NFTs. So that's just like a slight point that I have to add.
Thank you, Alvin. Wang Hao, how about you?
Yes, I think Tua and Alvin has actually pointed out very good, I think, use cases and also the uniqueness of NFTs. Personally, I can't agree more on those 3 points, etc., and also where we can actually use for the membership, etc. But still see actually there's quite a bit of I would say gap in terms of the infrastructure and the security. If you think the fundamental difference of an NFT is actually built on blockchains, and to make sure it's authenticated, essentially this is a trust mechanism, and the trust mechanism needs to be supported by the infrastructure where you got truly decentralized in terms of storage and those validation. And I think we're still, I mean, even though for I would say Ethereum, we still, I think, of early stage in terms of making sure that it's been I would say fully decentralized. So nonetheless, I think the future is great for us to develop and build something great.
Nice one, Wang Hao. All right, so now that we understand the fundamentals of NFTs, right? Let's address some of the common public misconceptions of NFTs. Right? When people hear about NFTs, you know, a lot of them immediately say NFTs are a scam, NFTs are worthless, right? I can easily just download and save your picture, and now I own your NFT, right? Can we, like, how would you address these different misconceptions? TY, would you like to start?
Okay, I understand. So I think that is actually the misconception. Because every NFT is actually the unique one. It's not only a JPEG. So every single NFT that lies behind an NFT is actually the blockchain technology. So using the blockchain technology, that everything cannot be changed. So yeah, so because the people that only knows that they think that this is only the profile picture or that is a scammer, blah blah blah. But you know that every single technology when it at the early stage, I think everyone is at the same. Just like, for example, like when emails come out into the world back to 1990 centuries, back to the 19th centuries. So everyone thinks that the email is actually a scam. What's the scam? But right now, every single individual, they are using the emails. So at least that you understand what is the technology lying and behind the NFT. Otherwise, that from the people's the most mass public point of view is actually the scammer, but it's not only the scammer. It's not only the scam. It's actually the technology, and this technology can really change the world and has a great potential in the future.
Nice, thanks, TY. Alvin, how about you? How would you address these different misconceptions?
So yeah, I would say, okay, there are a few different points to this. So actually it is a fact that a lot of the NFTs out there are like not very high quality. I wouldn't say, okay, there are of course like some scams out there, and there are also like soft rugs. So like what we call soft rugs are projects where they launch NFT, but maybe they stop development after a while because what they set out to do is more intensive than what they thought about it at first. So actually there are a lot of NFTs out there that like this, but focusing on the like solid projects for the time being, I think we can split it out into two different like parallel streams. So one is the collectible side, and the other side is the membership and ownership in the community side. So on the collectible side, so like just going to the like the most famous NFT collection is Bored Ape Yacht Club. So like using them for an example, there even within the apes, there are a lot of different rarities of different traits and so on. So this is actually very similar to so many physical collectibles that we see in the world today, like from Pokemon cards to watches or things like that. So different watches also have different features. Some are rarer, some are more common, and all of that will affect the price. So that's one side, the collectible side. but at the same time, there's also the membership side. So even the most common kind of Bored Ape traits, it still gives you membership to the community, and you still have the benefits associated with that. So I think, as let's say to someone new to NFTs who doesn't have much experience, I would say, yeah, looking at the community and the membership side, honestly, that's the fundamental basis, unless you want to be a full-time, not necessarily full-time, but unless you want to be a serious NFT trader for trading the collectibles, the community is really the most important part. So like buying and then being a part of that community, and like studying whether that community is something that you want to be part of. Yeah, that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Alvin. Wang Hao, how would you address these different misconceptions?
Okay, so I think from your first question, firstly, NFT is not just a JPEG, and it's not just something you download, and that won't be the same. So fundamentally, I think TY and Alvin has addressed. So it's totally different because it's created on blockchain and transferred and the record is on blockchain. So it's not the same thing you can copy paste and send by email. No, that's totally different. But people say, okay, I still can download the picture. What's the difference? So the difference is whether it's actually recognized by every other people as the only authenticated NFT. So that's the thing. It's something that you can think about. Let's say if you buy a GCB in Singapore, right? There's only one authenticator of that property. You can't just copy paste and send it to someone and create several. So that's the kind of things you see. That's the uniqueness. It's different. Whether there's a scam or not, I think there's just two things we need to, I would say, separate. One is the price, the pricing actions of NFTs. The other is value. So when I talk about value, there's two angles looking at value. One is utility value. It can be a kind of like a membership utility where you can join something, you can enjoy some kind of the benefits as a member. The other is non-utility. It's all about your personal attachment into that group. So I think that is difficult to make I would say a kind of a universal judgment how this should be valued. But when you're looking at the value versus the price, these are very different things. You can't say just because someone wants to sell at a high price and then when you get in and later you find you lost money and then you call it scam. I think that's two different stuff. Yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Great, thanks. Yeah, I think the value, how people value NFTs is very different because this is the perception, right? Perception of how other people value it. So NFTs, there are different types of segments, right? We have the profile picture communities, we have art, we have games, collectibles, metaverse land, and many, many more, right? So in the past year and a half or so, NFTs attracted a very a profit-seeking crowd, right? At its peak in January this year, the amount traded on OpenSea, the first and largest NFT marketplace, was about 4.8 billion USD. But just last month in July itself, it was 528 million USD. So we have seen a general decline in the interest of NFTs in terms of trading NFTs during this market, as well as with the macro environment situation. How do you think NFTs are going to be moving forward from here? TY, would you like to start?
Okay, I think this is actually the good news for everyone actually, because this is the bear market. So especially from the investment point of view, it would be the good timing to buy and also consider to buying some like blue chip NFT like boy apps or like the other blue chip ones. So since the blue chip apps are the biggest consensus in this NFT world, and also like it actually similar to the luxury good as well. Like for example, like Chanel. So do you think that the Chanel have the reasonable reasons to increase the price every single year? It's only because of inflation? No, actually it's not, right? So because of the Chanel and Hermes is actually the biggest consensus in the luxury world. So every woman, single individual, they like it. So the blue chip NFT is similar to the luxury goods. So now it's on sale in a cheaper price because it's a bear market. So from the investment point of view, it's actually it's actually the good timing to consider to buy some things like mobile apps. So also this is the good timing for you, every single one, every individual, to do your own research and to look at for the next future NFT, and also to look at the in depth on the NFT itself as a technologist. So especially for the next green run coming, the NFT will be continuing to the hard topics. So yeah, so that is my point of view.
Thank you. And yeah, just a friendly reminder, right? Like, not anything that we're discussing today, please do your own research. It's not financial advice. Whatever we are talking about is based on what we know. Please remember to do your own research, and you make your own decisions. So Alvin, what do you think about this? The interest in NFTs has been slightly declining. What do you think is happening? How do we move from here?
So I think that there are a few things that have to come out for. So actually, like, to be honest, I feel that overall the NFT market, of course, like, there's a broad decline in crypto in general, but NFTs have actually been fairly robust to the broader decline. So the trading volumes on the main NFT exchanges are still like fairly high, like relative to a few months ago. So and especially on other chains like Solana. So Solana NFTs have been picking up a lot compared to Ethereum. So actually the market is still fairly doing fairly healthy, even with like the decline in crypto in general, and like recently with the merge, things have been picking up again. So I would say that the decline it's not, I'm not saying that there is no decline, but it's not as bad as it might have been. So that's one thing. And the other thing is, like, as actually I think Wang Hao mentioned earlier, I think some of the NFT infrastructure still remains to be we expect to see more developments in this area, for example. So like NFT market making, NFT liquidity provision. I think these are interesting topics that different startups and projects are working on, and it's really even happening now. So if you check out, for example, Sudo Swap, they started off with a swap mechanism for NFTs, but they have built up NFT liquidity provision, and there are other players in this space as well. So there's something that I personally have seen happening, and I expect to continue more. Besides that, like, regarding the NFTs themselves, I would I still want to see more connection to like real world assets and real world communities. Right now, a lot of NFTs are about a model of like going for the IP. So I'm play. That's not the only play in the NFT ecosystem. Yeah, I want to see more connection with real world assets, or even like crypto assets that are linked to like financial incentives and things like that. So this is what I hope to see in the future. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Alvin. Wang Hao, how about you? What are your thoughts about this?
Sure. I think, so we're still very early stage, just looking at the size of NFT to overall crypto market. It's only less than 2%. So, but if you look at the current human wealth, NFT is actually much more in terms of the percentage than FTs. FTs does not actually have a meaning unless it's trying to denominate how much this NFT is worth. Like, how much is your property worth? How much is your jewelry worth? How much is your car worth? So that's actually using the FTs to denominate. So dollar, whatever the currency, or other, let's say USDC, ETH, etc., just the denominator. So that's the utility way of looking at this. Whereas a lot of things currently we are getting used to should have an NFT in the future, but there's quite a bit. We can look at from as big as a whatever, let's say the history of a country, of a nation, or we can look at something as small as maybe a genetic design of a animal. or some whatever virus, etc. Right? So that's everything can be actually put on NFT on blockchains. Whereas the gap, I think, for the NFT to bring really to mass adoption is twofold. I think that's really related to the financial aspect. One is the liquidity. So liquidity actually needs to be improved a lot. So whether it's using a fungible tokens to improve the liquidity, I think that's one way. Another is actually creating some pools so that you can fractionalize NFTs. That's another way. So liquidity is one thing. Second is you can do something about the leverage. If you hold an NFTs, can you get some liquidity back when you need it to buy something else? For example, if you own a property, if you own an art, you can loan it to a private bank, and then you get some mortgage out of it. If you own a yacht, you can just loan it to a kind of a financing company and get maybe 50% loan to value ratios. So that's kind of things I think that's the gap needs to be filled for the NFT to have a mass adoption.
Okay, thanks a lot, Wang Hao, for that. Right, so moving from the individual consumer to more like a celebrities, brand, corporations point of view, right? We have seen celebrities entering the space, right? How Mendo pop superstar JJ Lin purchased the CryptoPunk in November for about 600K at that point in time. He owns a Bored Ape. Serial entrepreneur Gary Vaynerchuk launched his own NFT project. He's been buying NFTs. Brands like Adidas, work together with Bored Ape to launch their own NFT project, which brought in $23 million. Disney and Marvel launching their NFTs as digital collectibles. And just yesterday, Tiffany & Co just announced the launch of their NFT drop. It's going to be selling at 30 Ethereum for each, which is about $50,000 US. And also we have institutions like Visa buying a CryptoPunk. We have HSBC purchasing a plot of virtual estate in Sandbox, like a metaverse land. So in your opinion, right, why do you think these brands and celebrities, institutions are getting involved in NFTs? Why are they moving into this space? Alvin, would you like to start us off?
So as brands, I think they have seen what these new IPs like Boy Your Club, CryptoPunks, and so on are doing. Like they're spreading a lot among these celebrities. So they see the power of NFTs as a branding and marketing tool. So actually, for example, like with Gary V, his Vayner Media, they have a whole NFT team which partners a lot with brands on how to use NFTs to best succeed at their marketing. So I recommend anyone who is interested in this topic to listen to a few of their podcasts, like with the I think the head of their NFT department, her name is Avery. So she has a few podcasts like talking about her views on this, and actually looking at what they are doing with the different brands. So like, for example, a lot of times with their initial outreach with the brands, with initial forays into NFTs, they'll start off with like a free mint. Pepsi, so like Pepsi, I believe they did a partnership with Pepsi with a free mint, with the royalties going to charity. So some of these brands, they have considerations like legal issues. How are they going to receive the money? What is it going to be used for? So free mint is one of the ways where like they do not have to think so much about where it fits in, and then they can donate into charity. So it's like these are attempts to like just test the waters and see what their audience resonates with. So their launches have been quite successful so far compared to, for example, I think some of the sporting NFTs, they saw the early success of NBA Top Shots, and then they wanted to come in, but most of these have not been as successful. So NBA Top Shots themselves, they had a very good run very early on, but after a while it died off as well. And then like even the UFC, they're launching some NFTs recently, but it's not doing as well. So really, I think there's no set playbook on how brands can use NFTs right now. It's still an open question, and people are experimenting with different things. Like free mints is one way to solve with the experiment. But yeah, in the long run, I expect that brands will like find some successful ways to use it. Like already there are some early successes, like with the free mints, like helping generate publicity and so on. But or even with auctions, like I believe like Coca-Cola, they did an auction for some unique NFTs. There's also coupled with the physical item, like a Coca-Cola shaped fridge, something like that. So and I remember like there are a few actually wine companies that do exclusive wine NFTs coupled with the wine bottle, so you can claim it with the wine bottle. So it's too short to go into a panel like this, but you can read up a lot on how different brands are using it, and yeah, just remember that it's not a set playbook yet. That there's a lot of a lot of strategies that are remain to be discovered. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, that's a great point, right? Like NFTs are so new, everyone's still just experimenting with it all, trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work for like different consumers. And so, Wang Hao, how about you? What's your opinion on brands also getting involved in NFTs?
I mean, I tend to not to think too complicated on how those brands actually start to venture into NFT. Just thinking about their business lines, right? So they're talking about tens and hundreds of billions. They're spending maybe like $500,000, say for example, to just venture into something like that. What you get is two benefits. Clearly, that's for sure. Firstly, you get eyeballs. Okay, anyone who looking at the news, they will, oh yes, they are looking into that. Second, you get a lot of partnerships. Actually, whoever may actually be working with you to further venture into NFTs. When they first, let's say for example, PwC bought a land in Sandbox, they may not know actually what they can do with it. They may just write it off straight away. Or some other, they just design a kind of a character, like Disney, for example. They may not fully understand actually what the potential could be when they first venture it out. But after they release this on the news, a lot of guys will come to them and say, okay, yeah, we can do this, we can do that, we can think about something. They may not even actually plan. So I think that's two benefits you clearly get. The cost of doing that, very, very low. So why not?
Great. TY, what about you? What do you think about this?
Yes, I want to echo Wang Hao and also Alvin's point of view. So basically, I think the large brand they start to involve the NFT is actually majorly for the marketing purpose. So as everyone knows that the marketing has always been an area of the heavy investment for brands. So with dollars going in and coming out elsewhere on the P&Ls, on the financial point of views. But now NFT offer a way to do the marketing in a potentially a cost neutral way through the self NFT projects. So creating a lasting bond between the brands and the customer beyond the point of sales. And also you got a lot of the attention on the different types of social media as well. So at the most basic level, most the customer buying NFT because of the potential value they can derive from the asset in the future. As a result, customers and the brand company itself are aligned in creating a long-term relationships to drive the value and also the profits. The second one is that the NFT also presents users with a new brand experience and provide brands with innovative vehicle to drive brand awareness and also and affinities. So brand can also use the NFT to collect the customer data, test the new products, test the new ideas, and also use the NFT to tell the stories and generate the potential revenue as well. So this technology is actually the powerful tool from my point of view for the marketers, for the marketing, and also for the markets to build and support the brands. As the success of any NFT project is predicted on its ability to create the community and also construct a brand in the long run.
Great. And adding on to that, like NFTs are, like you mentioned, NFTs are used a lot primarily in marketing, right? So do you think it's necessary for all kinds of brands to incorporate NFTs, so be it large brands or small businesses? Do you think everyone needs to have an NFT plan, or does it depend on what they're trying to do?
From my point of view is that every single one, or maybe the business can consider to use the NFT as a marketing tool, but you need to understand why you are using it and what is the motivation behind. And the other things is that to building the utility under the NFT itself, and because that the utility is actually the value, and also the things what you can really provide the customer. It's not only the pictures. So I think if you are considering to working on an NFT project or maybe create an NFT for your own company, you have to think about the utility and how you are going to create a utility for the NFTs, as a membership pass or as anything, and to create a long-term value and also the brand awareness for engaging the customer in the long run.
Great, thanks for the answer, TY. So, as brands and the world in general is moving from Web 2 to Web 3, let's start with defining the difference between Web 2 and Web 3. Right? We've seen different definitions such as Web 1 is you read content, Web 2 is you write content, read and write content, and Web 3 is that you read, write, and own your content. How else would you define the difference between Web 2 and Web 3? Wang Hao, I believe you already mentioned a little bit earlier. Would you like to expand more on that?
Sure. Yes, Web 3. Frankly speaking, I think the Web 3 is just a kind of a catchphrase. I think has been coined by one of VC investor at XCC or someone else. I personally think, okay, it's a new algorithm to combine information and money together. So if you look at whatever has been actually designed or talked about the Web 3, this is unique from whatever we had before. So what I mean by that, before Web 3, before we have a blockchain, where at the moment when any coins or any currency has been actually generated, the information, the data, plus the capital has been actually coded together. So it's born naturally and linked to each other. Whereas if you think about Web 2, financial informations and financial transactions actually very, I would say, segregated from most of the data, which needs different regulations. So that's how I see the main difference between this. And why this is important is because whatever information is supposed to have some value, whether it's to me, to you, or to someone else. Otherwise, this will be just a kind of like a waste data. But how that value is going to be captured and recorded and transacted and multiplied, I don't think we have a tool or an efficient tool before even Web3 or blockchain technology was actually born. So that's actually how actually I would say the real uniqueness of Web3, and truly I believe that's going to be actually the way the human civilization is going to be digitalized.
Thanks for that. TY, how would you define the slight difference between Web 2 and Web 3?
Okay, I think the major difference between Web 2 and Web 3 is that in the Web 2 industry, or maybe in the Web 2 worlds, you can read the data and you read the content, and also you can create the content. But the content itself is actually not owned by you. It's actually owned by the institution, like a Google, like a Facebook, like a Twitter. So the platform of the problem of this the Web 2 is being monetized by a small amount of the company, like the company I just mentioned. So in Web 2 industry, we call it like read and also the creates. So in the Web 3s, you not only have ability to read, to create, but you also have ability to own your data, to own your property, to own your actual networks, to own your creation. And that is what the crypto assets themselves represents. So I call it recreate and also the ownership. So the major difference between Web2 and Web3 is actually called the ownerships. You are directly to owning the data. You're directly owning it, and with your contribution, you can get the rewards by owning, by creating that. So I think that is the major differences between the Web2 and the Web3s.
Thank you, TY. Alvin, do you have anything to add on to that?
Yeah, I don't really have much to add on. So I think both Wang Hao and TY covered the points. Yeah, the main difference actually, Web3 is a bit of a buzzword. I agree with Wang Hao. I think this Chris Dixon from. Oh, so actually originally I think it was Gavin Woods who was he worked on Ethereum, and he's one of the founders of Polkadot who came up with this term, but it was popularized by A16Z because they want to separate out crypto. Crypto sometimes is a dirty word among some people because they associate with like crime or something. Then they want to come up with this term Web3, but so like to the people who came up with this difference, Web3 is a bit more focused on ownership, as TY said, compared to like reading and writing. So I think that there's also some justification to that. Because you like for NFTs, for example, we are talking about today, you in a game where on like Counter-Strike or something, you don't really own the asset in the end. It's still something that is owned by the company. You can transfer it within the game. So that's a limited form of ownership, but you cannot really withdraw it. And sometimes in the past, very long ago, they actually banned such transactions for real world money. They allow you to trade for gold maybe in the game, but they didn't like you to trade it for real world money. So I'm not sure if that's still the case today, but the point of like these of Web3 and decentralized ownership is that you can actually interact financially with these digital assets in different ways. So I think that's the main difference. And like going back a bit to the earlier point about how brands can use NFTs, there's actually a lot of different applications. The more B2C brands, like for example, the beverage companies, like even from soft drinks to wine, they can use it for marketing. But on the B2B end, actually connecting it back to real world assets like ownership of maybe a business or ownership of real estate, I think that's something very interesting and remains to be explored. Yeah, so that's it from me.
Thank you, Alvin. Yeah, so NFTs receive a lot of resistance, right, in terms of acceptance because there's a lot of lack of understanding, or lack of education, right? So what do you think is needed, to push this boundary to move the acceptance to NFTs acceptance on a broader scale? Wang Hao, you already mentioned slightly earlier about what it took for mass adoption. TY, what about you? What do you think it will take to push the boundaries of resistance and get NFTs adopted into the mainstream?
Okay. I think every single new technologies, if they want to push for the mass adoption, especially for the NFT, is that the NFT need to change the image of in front of the mass public at this moment, because a lot of, and maybe like a 90% of the current NFT has no real values. It's only a profile picture, or maybe like the utility you give the NFT is actually not worth to the money you paying for buying the NFTs. So I think the first one is that the NFT need to create the real value, or maybe the industry need to give the NFT, to use the NFT as a technology to create the real value for the NFT itself. So that's the first one. And second one is that the government regulations. So especially that every single products, or every single intellectual property, or the property, if you are related to involving in any types of finance applications, the government's regulation is the key way for the mass adoption, especially for the NFT and also the crypto as well. So, and the last one is the legal rights, to make sure the ownership is really yours. Because right now, from the legal point of view, from the major lawyer firms or maybe the major lawyers, they still have like arguments on the legal rights about the NFT itself. So if the NFT need to have a value, so the legal rights need to so the legal the lawyer and the legal world need to make sure and also ready to make sure that the ownership is really the owners from the legal point of view. So I think that the first one, the NFT need to create a real value, and the second one is under the government's regulation, and the third one is that the legal rights. That will be the three critical things to drive the mass adoption for the the future usage of the NFTs.
Thank you, TY. Alvin, do you have anything to add on to that, or what's your opinion on this?
Yeah, I agree with TY. I think the regulation has a very important role to play. Like with some clarity about like whether, because honestly, like different NFTs have different properties and benefits associated with them. Some are purely like profile pictures with a small community, but others are much more involved. Like they actually, let's say they give owners revenue share of all the royalties or different things like that. So for wider adoption, like by institutions, that there has to be more like clarity around these areas. Like even now, it's possible that we might still see some NFT projects get into legal trouble for this, even on the consumer level. So yeah, more legal clarity would help the adoption of NFTs in the future.
Hey, thank you. Thanks all of you, for your interesting discussion, very insightful points. Now we'll move on to the Q question and answer section before we close off. So our first question is now a good time to take a look into NFTs? Like the hype seems a bit over with this bear market. Wang Hao, would you like to take this?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so there's two angles. Firstly, what's the purpose of looking at NFTs? Just to make a quick money, or is something that you really want to embrace the mega trends of the future? I think if the answer is the second, definitely, I think every day, I think, is a good day to just take a deep look into what NFT is, what can it do, how you can get involved, whether just buying and selling some NFTs or minting your own NFTs, or even just creating a project using NFTs. But if you're looking at it purely from an investment perspective, I can't say much because I personally don't invest much. I mean, I probably only just own some blue chip stuff where I don't really trade a lot. So for that things, I really can't advise much.
Great, thank you, Wang Hao. All right, so another question is, how do we not fall for NFT scams? Right? It seems very hard for beginners trying to enter this space. Alvin, would you like to address this?
So there are different kinds of scams. There are very obvious scams that have no utility, and then there are also like soft rugs. So the obvious scams, I would say, like don't it depends on the kind of marketing that they use. If they have a lot of spammy marketing, they DM you on Twitter to say like buy this NFT. It might not be a scam, but it's like most probably not very high quality. So I would say examine the community, how it actually works. So is there actually active participation beyond just like some random short messages and things like that? You can look at the Twitter, look at the Discord, and see whether it's a genuine community, to see whether it's an outright scam. So you need a bit of experience and discretion to see this, I guess, because like for a beginner it's quite overwhelming. You can just compare some of the known high quality communities and then compare that to what you see to have an opinion on this. So that's for the outright scams. But the other thing is actually soft rug. So this is actually much more common than outright scams. I think a lot of projects they launch, but they end up realizing that it's a lot more effort than they had to put in, than they thought they had to put in the beginning. And then it slowly, there are still updates, but the updates are not substantive, and then they don't build out the product. So these kinds are much harder to spot. But one general tool is like, if the roadmap seems very ambitious, but the team doesn't seem able to, I mean, like the team seems too small, they don't have enough developers and things like that. That's one way to judge. Even then, actually, sometimes it's hard to say, because, like, for example, I'll tell you, I invested in a Solana NFT called The Gods. So they had a lot of hype in the beginning. A lot of people bought the The Gods NFT, but after a while, at the time, I don't think they had any full-time developers on the team. So it was one guy called Frank with a small team of community managers and so on. So I minted 3, then I sold off 1 in a few weeks, then I still held 2. Then over the next few weeks and months, it kept dropping, and then I felt like they're not going. It's going to be a soft rock, in my opinion. But they managed to turn around, and then the floor price today is the biggest Solana NFT today. So I sold off all of my The Gods too early, and then it went all the way back up. So sometimes it's very hard to tell these kind of soft rocks whether it's really a soft rock or they can turn it around. I cannot give you any sure advice on this. Is just like some general trends. Like if they don't have a developer, if it's a small team, then most likely it's a soft rock. But I can be wrong. So this is what I have to tell.
Thanks, Alvin. All right. So one more question came in. What are some of the industries that will be at risk if companies do not invest in NFT or use blockchain? TY, would you like to address this?
Okay, so I think this question is hard to answer. So because I think that right now at this point of time, and also at this moment, is still too early for the industry to majorly and also massively to adapt the NFT and also the blockchain technologies. Because I think that until today, the infrastructure of the blockchain still is a main issue, especially for the future adoption and also the different types of applications. So I think at least when the infrastructure of the blockchain of the crypto of the NFT become much more mature, then the industry can start to adapting or maybe that maybe adapt massively on this kind of technology at this moment. But I think at least timing is still too early to say.
All right, great. Thank you, TY. All right, just a bit more conscious of time. Let's get each of our panelists, to answer this last question. In 1 to 2 sentences, what would your advice be to new people who are interested in NFTs? Wang Hao, please.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. It's always. I mean, for anything new, anything you're not comfortable, I think first thing is trying to skin in the game. So put a little bit money, whatever that is, $100 or whatever. Put in that and into it, and you start to care more about it. Start to look into it. You will do research on it. The second thing I think you can do is gradually get out of your comfort zones. Don't go all in. Basically, this is a risk management, I think, advice. So don't really just overshoot your comfort, I would say risk appetite, whatever that is. Lastly, I think we have been, promoting 2 projects, really getting everybody a sense about what NFT and metaverse could they be. I think in about 2 weeks' time at the Plaza Singapore. So I think that's something really you can see how that works in real life, and how actually that could change your way of doing things, etc. So go and check at those showcases at the Plaza Sing.
Thank you, Wang Hao. TY, in 1 to 2 sentences, what would your advice be for new people who are interested in NFTs?
I think first things that think about the motivation first. So why do you need an NFT? Why do you want to buy an NFT? Why do you want to create your own NFT? Is it only for the money? Only for the speculation, or you really think that it will create a value for your business, or maybe to yourself as well. So I think that the motivation is the first one. So do think about why do you need it, and also that secondly, to think about if you need it, if you are owning it, if you are using it, how do you create the value by using the NFT, or by creating an NFT, or by owning the NFT? So I think that is a two major point of view from my parts to think about if you are going to enter the NFT space as a new beginners.
Thank you, TY. Alvin, what about you? 1 to 2 sentences.
So I agree with Wang Hao. What Wang Hao said earlier about skin in the game. I think besides just money, one way for especially like maybe young people or people in developing countries who don't have so much money is also just to join the communities. Like even for people with money, it's also to join the community, see what's going on, and then just join a community that you like, participate in the discussions, and be an active member. That's also skin in the game. It doesn't have to be money. It's also time. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Alvin. Thank you for all of you panelists for your insightful opinions, expertise. Thank you to all the participants here who took time out of their day to learn more about NFTs and how we are moving, how we are moving this from Web2 to Web3 through using NFTs. I'd like to pass the time back to Phoebe, our host.
All right, thank you, speakers. So we hope that you have taken away some pointers and insights from this webinar. So if you do need guidance on your tech upskilling journey, you can sign up for the free one-to-one skills and training advisory session with the SSG Skills Ambassadors. So they will actually have a conversation with you to understand your needs and your objectives, and it could be a new skill that you're looking for to enhance your employment prospects or for your career transition plans. And then they will share with you the relevant information. So this includes like the course search and recommendations, the type of assistance schemes and fundings, as well as your SkillsFuture credit and other resources on the My SkillsFuture portal. So how can you find or contact a skills ambassador? So there are actually 3 ways to do so. So you can visit any of these locations indicated on the map. So please note the operating days and times, and they'll provide you with suitable course recommendations based on your career goals. So simply scan the QR code or click the link in chat to register, and they will reach out to you within 3 to 4 working days. So we have come to the end of our session. So we will appreciate if you can take a minute to fill out our feedback form by scanning the QR code or clicking the link in chat. Once again, thank you for your taking time to come and join us on this webinar. So do check out the upcoming webinars on SkillsFuture website. Thank you and goodbye.